So I'm actually going to start out, and even though it wasn't actually a question, I want each one of you to sort of comment about that combination of the large organizations and the startups, and if you've had that sort of experience yourselves or contributed to that type of relationship. Chris, do you want to start with you?
And I guess the question is how that's an advantage as an innovative company in Chicago. You know, I found that like the core of every business is pretty simple in some ways. You have to do something that, you know, creates value at a rate greater than what it costs you to make. I mean, that's what a business is. And sometimes that is forgotten, but that's ultimately what it's all about. And so kind of the essence of creating a business or just creating innovation is, can you do that? And the only way to measure that is to go sell it and to get that feedback from that customer. And what I found, you know, over a bunch of companies in Chicago, that you can always like experience that for real. I mean, if you want to go sell to a media company, a financial services company, what does matter? There's one here. There's more than one here, and you can use the community that is here to get to that, you know, selling opportunity and go find out. And that's like the gold of a business. That's the core. And you've got to, you know, get to that question, get to that answer. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, Shraddha, any thoughts?
You know, building upon what Chris is saying, it is so valid to have the diversity of customers, but even having the accessibility to customers, right? We've been talking all evening about the community, and what's so special about Chicago is the existence of, especially in healthcare, hospitals, life sciences companies, pharmacy companies, payers, right? This is such a powerful nexus of many of the stakeholders, but it's also the collaboration and the openness and the accessibility that actually allows for us to partner with many of these organizations, and especially in those early years, is so extremely valuable to receive that direct feedback from the customer, and you know, not just build a product, but take it to market and have the vulnerability to continually iterate and improve based on the questions, based on the value prop, based on the problem that you're hearing from your customer. And just having all of that here allows for startups to really have a global perspective, because it's you know, allows for you to have the diversity of that feedback as well very early into the business's lifetime.
Right, yeah, that's helpful. Man?
So I first had an aha moment in about 2001. I was in a board meeting of one of our companies in Chicago, and I noticed that their largest sales region was the Midwest. I said, okay, that makes sense, we're in the Midwest. Well, then I was in San Francisco for 2 back-to-back board meetings, and I looked at our sales pipeline. Number 1 sales region, Midwest. I was in New York for a board meeting, guess what? Midwest. I thought, okay, being the smart guy that I am, there must be a pattern here, right? And so we began to look and began to realize just what you said, and then we began to look at every one of our companies, and almost every single one, their critical first customer that actually put them on the map was a Chicago-based company. So at this point at Pritzker, we actually have a formal program in which we've literally, as Ram said, identified the chief procurement officers, the heads of business development, whatever, at the Fortune 500s that are in the Midwest region, in particular in Chicago, and use it to foster to help launch our companies.
That's incredibly valuable. Yeah. It really is.
But it was really eye-opening to see it in numbers.
Yeah. And Brian?
Yeah, I think from sort of a city perspective, one of the things that I think, and the mayor mentioned it, but I think it bears repeating, is that there's a lot of focus in the city to think about how we can leverage the unique infrastructure and all the various different city agencies to drive the future of the city. And it's not just about sort of capturing those kids who are coming here to our first-rate schools and those kinds of things, but it's actually looking at how we leverage our school system. So this idea that kids can now graduate from Chicago Public Schools and go to community college for free in Chicago. The idea that we can build an infrastructure through our libraries that supports innovation in neighborhoods, or through Chicago schools, et cetera, that there's a real focus on building our own, not just sort of relying on those kids who are coming to Chicago just for school and hoping we're retaining them. And I think that that mindset about building within and building from our own innovation engine in our own city will pay dividends in the long run.